Welcome to Soul Conversations with Sandra, the podcast. And you'll find that I'm working on names that might ring a bell. So I'm going to try that out. Tell me how you like it in the comments. So today we are talking with a young lady by the name of Adrian. She's 5D Crystalline Emotions. And this is the second installment of Emotions. And she is with us now. She's waving to us. And I am, as soon as she requests, I'm going to let her on. And we're going to get started because there is a lot to talk about. Just so much. Emotions are everything that kind of runs the show for us, really. And sometimes it runs the show without us even knowing it's running the show. So we're going to find out how to acknowledge it, how to let it flow, and what we can do to support our emotions in order for us to create. All right. So if I did it correctly, she will be popping in here in just a second. I'm looking down because I'm getting myself some water because it's going to be a nice ride. And here she is. Hello, hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I feel great. How are you?
I'm excited. I am so excited.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, Fifi. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to give you a wave. There we go. And hold on a second. You know, it doesn't, how do I move? Oh, there we go. Now I can see your face. So let's just jump right in because, you know, there's so much that you do. There's so much that we need to know about our emotions. The 3D emotions kind of ran our lives without, kind of like on an automatic, kind of like somebody threw the switch and we just go with whatever, you know. So let's get started. I believe we were talking about, I had asked you a question. What happens to a person who just kind of submerges everything? Sometimes they don't even know that it's so far deep that, you know, what happens when they blow the cork, when they've got all that. I can tell you, better yet, we'll just start with my story. And then that will be the question. For me, I had a conversation with a friend, and I had said to this friend, I've been doing a lot of shadow work and cleaning out. And I have an individual that is going in therapy. And, you know, I might be part of the question about how to help this person based on this person being a part of my life, you know, an active part of my life and family. And the way the therapist had suggested to me, if I come in, how they were going to deal with it. And basically it was, we're going to deep dive into your life, figure out what was going on there with you and how it relates to someone, to this person that we need to help. And I'm going, well, wait a minute, you know, you're not going to come try to reconstruct me when I've already deconstructed and eliminated some of the stuff. I'm just going, no, that doesn't seem to work, to try to fix someone else, right? Yeah. So the friend that I was talking to, she kind of just shut me off and said, well, no, you just have to do it. You have to do what they say because it's about helping the other person. And I got really, I'm going to tell you, no, not really, fucking really annoyed, yeah. Right? Okay. Yeah. And it was like, I could feel a trigger go off. And one that I didn't know I had. And this is really recently. And the more she talked, the more irritated I got. I'm going to say not irritated, just fucking mad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but it felt like, and I'm going, did I talk this up with Adrian? Did I just talk this volcano up? Because I erupted. I said, well, you don't know what I went through to do my shadow working. How dare you tell me that I have to, because somebody is a therapist, and because they've gone to school for this, and because they get to deconstruct me, reconstruct me, and then I have to go through this again because I'm helping someone else get through what their thing is, right? But I mean, I went from 0 to 100, and it was like I was fighting, doing my Gemini thing, which is okay. Now that you talked about me, here, let me tell you about you. Let's go back to 1957 when you weren't even born, and we're going to talk about that, right? So there's that, and it was buried in there. And I think it wasn't about her, and it wasn't really about the situation. It was about when, ever since I can remember, and who knows how long that is, I've had, when I would talk to people about just having a conversation about how I feel about things, they would put me on a couch and just tear me apart. And I felt like I felt like nothing at all. Right?
Yeah.
And I can't believe, I think Source said, well, you wanted an explanation. Here, we're going to show you one. And literally, I went from 0 to 100. And I thought I handled it right, but I don't think so, because inside I feel like I have to double back. Do you know, I have to walk it back and go, okay, I got to make some apologies, but I don't know what I'm apologizing for yet. I'm telling you, I'm going into some intentional meditation, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing, right? Because I actually did a really like spicy post on my Instagram about this exact thing, like people really not honoring, like people who are in a position of authority, right? Like a healer, a therapist, a psychic, you know, even like any kind of coach, you know, like people will come into a situation where they don't really know you and tell you like, well, you have all this work to do, and it's not honoring the work that's come before. So I think,
right.
you know, like, I think it's a really, you know, I don't know all the details obviously of the situation, but the part that you were getting angry about, like in part, there's the piece of like, there's no acknowledgement of the dedication that I've had in my life to evolution, to my personal growth, to doing the shadow work. Like if someone wants you to do something for somebody else in that way, or even if you're just coming to the person for your own benefit, there has to be the conversation of like, what work have you done on this so far, so that we can pick up where you were. It's assuming that someone's never done any work. So I think in that case, like, part of the anger that you're talking about is justified.
Right. Okay.
You know?
It's just
And
the way it was executed.
yeah, because it's not honoring you. And the 5D version of anger is self-care, divine self-care. And that means, and there's also a component of it being a win-win-win situation. So,
Right.
so for you to get angry and push back on that, it's because there wasn't a win-win-win frequency going on. It was like, you're a problem, this person has a problem, and I'm going to tell you how to fix it. Like, who's winning? I don't get it.
Right.
Like, that's not a win-win-win. So,
Right.
so of course, anger is going to come up to push back and say, excuse me, no. You know, and it's not about being, obviously we have to be beautiful stewards of anger, you know. So if there's something about that you want to walk back and like how it came out, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying to you is, we don't have to edit the fact that you were angry. I think that pure response
Mm-hmm.
is correct. And it's not even about me telling you that it's correct. It's like any emotion that we have is correct, because this is the life energy that's trying to move through us. And if we can stop editing it, then we can actually get to the magic of it. But we have to be good stewards of it. That's the point.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, well,
Hello. Someone saying hello.
Yeah. Hello, Ariel. Is that how he pronounces his name? Air.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard on Instagram because we don't know if it's someone's like actual name or if it's a handle,
Or
right?
yeah, because I've been pronouncing it Ariel. Ara, Era, Yo.
Yeah.
So, and forgive me if I've been pronouncing your name incorrectly. But hello, Water Lily. Oh, I love that name, Water Lily.
Amit.
Amit. Oh, is that his name? Amit?
Or Amit. Yeah. Amit. Ah, they know each other.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Amit. Anyway, but so there's just a kind of a little bit more to the story.
Yeah.
So we're having this conversation, and I'm like blowing up inside, and she can actually hear it. It's a phone call. She can hear it and we've had other conversations where we've had where we disagree, because conversations are like that. You don't have to agree with the person, and usually if I'm disagreeing, it's on a very even keel. It's very calm. It's very, I'll go, well, we're all entitled to have our thought. But this was zero to literally 0 to 100. She could tell it in me, and with me, I was she kept telling me I was triggering her. She knew.
Possible.
And she knew the whole thing, and that was her way of saying, I'm trying to get you to understand this, so you don't so I don't get triggered, right? And I was kind of in my head, I was going, you triggered, what about me? And I don't even know where it's coming from, but I couldn't say that out loud, because it was like the more I talked, the more she got defensive. So the whole conversation was now helping no one.
Yeah.
But we're all at a 0 to 100 now.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't feel we left it in the proper place. I think if we had another call, we'd still speak to each other. But I still, even when I'm speaking to it about it now, I feel not only that I wasn't understood, but now I hurt somebody in the process. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that, I think that's having all these things pushed down that I didn't know. How do you work with somebody who doesn't know? I know where I need to start to look for it, to address it.
Yeah.
But when my thing is, I'm just going to tell it plain and simple. Most of my followers think I know everything. No, I don't.
Nobody does.
I mean, source has brought me to you because there's a part, I don't know this part. I don't know how to do. I know the 3D version, which is make my apologies and then push it down. But I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I feel good. You see what I mean?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
About that.
Yeah.
And
let's talk about it.
And
this is so good. So the first part is, triggers are going to happen no matter what. Like, I have triggers too, all time. Like, it's not a problem. It's the point, the way we look at it is the problem, right? With people that we love, if we're close enough, there are going to be triggers that come up. I promise. And good, because there is no bad guy. Because your friend said that, because the therapist said that, there is no bad guy. There is simply the activator. And I'm the activator in someone else's story. Like, I'm the bad guy in someone else's story. And like, here I am. Like, let it go down. Mm-hmm. The point of the matter is, when a trigger happens, is that it's bringing up something, as you said, we didn't know that we didn't know. Like, oh wow, like, I have a lot of feelings about that. And that's okay, because they were just hanging out in the cells of our body, like in our energetic field, without us even knowing. So we want, like, a trigger is unpleasant. That's why we don't want it to happen. And it can cause a rupture in our relationships, which is why we also don't want it to happen. But it's actually like a very beautiful thing. Like, you can think about any relationship that you've had that's been difficult. And even in the moment, like, you probably had a lot of about that. But in retrospect, when you heal from it and you look back, you're like, oh, thank God that happened, because now I have wisdom that I never would have gained any other way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that person signed up to come down and push the buttons so you get to bloom.
Right.
There isn't, spirit doesn't care about whether it's pleasant or unpleasant for us, because they don't live in that frequency of right, wrong, good, bad, pleasant or unpleasant. They just don't live there.
Right.
They're just like, we want to push these buttons so that this outcome happens, so that you become everything that you're here to become.
Right.
So I really hope I never stop getting triggered.
Yeah. I think all I know is from probably day zero, maybe not day zero, say the moment I turned 1 year old, and it started making little baby choices, you know, triggers are starting to even happen there when you're so much that we push down, you know, that, you know, the trigger is going to come.
It's going to come. And the thing that, and it's supposed to, let's just make it plain and simple. It's supposed to. Here's the other piece, is that the reason I think that people push it down is because they don't have any tools to let it move through, right? Mm-hmm. So we're not taught. It's very, very new for us to be learning about nervous system regulation, for us to be learning about being with emotion. Like, I don't know about you, but I was never taught, never, ever taught. I just only heard, don't let your emotions rule you, which, if you look at it in the higher frequency, is actually really helpful advice. But what the way that my little mind took it is push them down,
right?
Override them. That's not the message that needed to be there. But the point that I'm trying to say is, we have very little training on how to allow the energy of emotion to move through us in a productive way. So I'm going to say it to you in a different way. In my house, my electrical box only has so many amps. Like, I can't even add one tiny little outlet. Like, if I turn one thing on in my garage, the breaker goes out completely. Like, it's so chock full, and it's not even safe. Like, I have to get it updated. But that's what happens with our emotions. Like, when we cannot handle our emotions, it's like the breaker just switches and we've gone like 0 to 100. And it's okay that those things happen, because that's what expands the circuitry. That's the investment in expanding the circuitry. But we don't always have to do it through triggers. We can do it through learning about emotion and practicing with the micro moments, the micro things that happen in our day-to-day life, to make it safe for emotion to move through us.
Right.
That's what we can do. But we just never got that training. Like, I mean, I don't know how to speak Chinese. And if you're telling me that I have to speak Chinese now, I'm going to be like,
yeah, like,
you know,
that, right? I can speak light language and pretend it's Chinese, but you know what I mean? How am I going to, right?
Yeah, you might not get your needs met, and, you know, if you,
yeah.
So it's a question of, like, if we learn how to be spectacular vessels of emotion, then we can tolerate the activations that come and we grow through it, versus it being like, oh, that was too much, I'm going to shut it down.
Right. Which is what I did in the I mean, really, it was like the heart was beating, the everything. We ended the call with grace, because I think for us both, we both knew we were triggered.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't to the expectation of how, when my mom was alive, how my mom would see. And that's the thing, when my mom was alive, she was a very good, I think source was moving through her. She didn't know that she was this pillar of good advice, common sense advice, you know. And she would help walk me through the emotion, because she would ask a certain question that would make me stop and think. Be that grounding moment for me.
Yeah.
Right. And then when she passed away, you know, I remembered some of the things she said, but as I started, you know, doing my own thing in the world, those things that I couldn't make sense of as an adult, and we as adults, we have shit that just doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense to us, we just push it down. We'll deal with that another time, maybe, until it shows up in a different way.
Yes.
Push it down, well, I'll deal with that one because that one was that one was a little bit different. That kind of outburst, or somebody telling us, with our triggers that it's okay to blame other people for why we blew up.
Yeah, that isn't
And
it.
that's not it. That's just something to help you push it down. And then,
or out, right? Like disown.
right, to disown it. But if it's down, like for me, it's like my Gemini self, it's like ego knows, oh, we can just blame it on her being a Gemini. And matter of fact, let me go ignite Mount Vesuvius in her because she's ready for one, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you where I thought I was okay. That was Vesuvius. And it was like, oh, it didn't even do the pyroclastic cloud. It just poured everything.
It was immediate. Yes. So the thing too, I mean, I think there's also wisdom in, hello, welcome. I think there's wisdom too in being able to stop the conversation knowing that it wasn't productive. Like that's part of the deal, right? Like if I get triggered and I'm talking to my partner and I see that our communication is becoming unproductive, I will stop the conversation. I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. We're not going to solve a thing. And
Right.
it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but it has to happen because what happens when the electrical circuit is blown is that we don't have all of our resources online.
Okay.
We don't. Our prefrontal cortex is the one who's responsible for connecting us to our resources, our willpower, our wisdom. And when that goes offline, we can't have productive communication. So it has to, like physiologically speaking, we have to complete the communication until we've been able to come back online. Now the massive growth moments are when you can have anger, right? It's there and it's at a level that's manageable so you can regulate your nervous system while it's there.
Okay.
You can be okay while it's there. And that is like the thing that we're going for. And that happens with tiny titrations over time. It happens with tiny practice over time.
Okay.
Of being like, ooh, I'm getting activated. Like, okay, can I be with myself? Can I be with this? 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 And when we keep saying, yes, I can be with this, we're getting every part of ourselves on board for letting the emotion move through us. It doesn't matter if it's a good look. It matters that we can be with it. And when we're being with it in a very pure way, and it's not like circuit breaking everything, then it can be very productive. And it could like I'm starting to get activated right now. Like I'll have the conversation with my partner, like, wait, ooh, my heart's starting to race. Like, okay, I'm starting to get activated right now. Like when you're saying that, I'm going like, I don't know if I could be in this conversation right now. And as long as I can stay connected to me and I can stay connected to him, we can be productive even if anger is there. Sometimes it just blows the top and you're like, I can't. And you have to come back and it's okay.
Right. So in that case, that's what my friend was doing. She was actually telling me, I don't think I can be in this conversation right now because I'm getting activated, instead of, she would say triggered, but then I took her saying triggered as, oh, now you're in my head, or my ego saying, oh, you think you're more important than me. You're turning this around.
That's it. That is such good information.
Right.
What you said right there is so important. Like if you go in there and be like, okay, there's something about when I feel like someone thinks they're more important than me or more important than my feelings, or someone's misunderstanding me, like, ooh, that's the gold right there. That is so much gold.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not something, obviously, like we're not going to like go deep into it right now, but just so that in this conversation, when people are witnessing it, you can see where the arrow is pointing. Like your activation might be really around that. And I bet you if you go into it a little bit and you use the tools that you have, it might open up something like, oh, that's painful for me because, my sibling who was very high need would eclipse me and my needs or something like that. And that hurt me. And I was always understanding. So now it's my time to let the feelings come out that were always pushed down then. And it happens to be that this friend over here is asking for my help, like my high need sibling. I'm making something up. I don't know if you have a high need sibling, but like, you see what I'm saying? You can go there and be like, ah, this person came in to help recreate this so that I can see and I can have the feelings that I never allowed myself to have, or I wasn't allowed to have about that dynamic before. Thank God.
Right. Your video and your audio are out of sync.
Mm,
So
I don't know what to do about that.
I don't know. Just keep talking. It'll get
Okay.
back. I think.
Well, I'll let you say.
Huh?
I'll let you go forward, and while my thing catches up.
Yeah. But that makes so much sense. Because well, actually you did say something, because it is about, I am a middle child, right? So yeah, older sister, older brother, younger sister. I'm older brother, younger sister, and then younger brother, younger sister. You see that? And I'm right in the middle. And when I think about it, it's either older sister, older brother got everything and trumped me, and then I got hand-me-downs, which is fine because it's about the universe providing. But as a kid, I didn't know that. And then younger brother, younger sister getting new and improved, right?
Yeah.
And me in that middle having that thought pattern that, what about me? And me not being, me not feeling up to the par of them either way, right?
Yeah.
And things that I wanted, if I wanted something, it would have to be something that would both my younger brother and sister could get to. And if it costs too much for ×3, then I get nothing because it's ×3. And because baby sister and baby brother wanted everything that I was getting. Mommy, can I have it too? Right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
mommy, yeah. And then mommy says, okay, let's try it. But when we go out to do it, then that, whatever it is, just say it's $170 trip to Disneyland ×3. Oh, I can't afford that. Then nobody gets it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
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 The fact that you even mentioned family, it was sourced. We're having I'm probably going to have to pay you because we're having this session right now on me. But I that's what I mean. It's things that you don't even know are just pushed down that become a powder cake at some point in time.
Tell me, did my video sync back up?
It started to sync back up, and then we keep going.
Okay.
You,
So this piece right here about what you just described with your family, there's a piece of us as like reasonable human beings, as evolved human beings, where we're like, well, I can understand why that happened, so I'm not going to be upset about it.
right.
And right there, we miss some gold, because it's okay. Of course, you would feel like overlooked. You would feel like someone else matters more than you in the situation you're talking about. And the feelings about that are not wrong. Like, it's just part of life force that wants to move through you. But we edit, and we're like, oh, I shouldn't be mad about that. And it's okay. Like, it's actually important for us to be mad about that, because otherwise it's living in there.
Yeah, it's living. Yeah, I used to always hear that middle children shouldn't complain. The whole thought. Anytime a middle child, oh, that's a middle. What did they used to call it? Middle child syndrome. You'll get over it. That kind of thing. And then you grow up. And I grew up. I just didn't think about it anymore, because now I'm living in the household as as with older brother and sister have gone off, they've gotten married and blah blah blah. Younger brother and sister's gone off, got married and blah blah, and I'm doing my thing, but it's still there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
And
myself as an example, so that there are many other examples of people that have just things have just been layered on top of things, and then we feel like we've only got two options. In the world, the options are either you blow the, either, what is it? Either you just go ahead and do it and ask forgiveness later, right? Better to go do it than to ask permission. Better to ask forgiveness than ask permission, right? Instead of going, I feel a certain way. Can we stop this conversation now, or can we take it up another time while I work on how I'm feeling right now? You just go with the feeling, and then your emotions take you wherever your emotions take you.
right. And usually what happens is when we go away, if we're not knowing how to handle it, we'll go away and just wait for the feelings to go down.
Mm-hmm.
That's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, what? Like, there's so much gold in there, because what happens is, and I will just back up and say, it's possible that very same feeling that you had, as the middle person in your family, that's happened in generations and generations, and they didn't have the capabilities to have the awareness around it to let it move through them. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're not only carrying what that is for you, but you're carrying it for your entire lineage until it gets to you, so that you get to be here in this conversation and be like, this is important.
Yes.
Right? And just like it could be Al or Alex, just like Alex was saying from Liverpool, we're breaking family cycles. This is happening all the time with people who are here as conscious beings, as light workers, as people who are gifted.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So I love that you're telling this story, Sandra, because it's so relatable.
Thank you.
Like what you're talking about is also for other people. You're just being the one who's in the conversation.
Yeah. I'm being the one who's like, okay, I'm just going to put all the fucking cards on the table, because that was not an expectation. Well, here it is. It's when you've done the work, right? When you believe you have done the work, and you believe that you've moved through the childhood stuff, right? And you're getting to the adult stuff of the stuff that you created and put in your unconscious, all of your own accord. That came up. And even as before we were talking about it, I had a feeling that it was a part of that, because I know that whenever in my early 20s and 30s, when I would go and have a conversation with my sister or brother, and I would, talk about what something's bothering me or whatnot, and the moment they opened up their mouth, I felt like I was on a couch on the psychiatrist's couch, right? And it wasn't about them listening to the problem. It was about them telling me, that I'm the problem, and let's break you down. Let's see why you have why you have this feeling about whatever we're talking about. And for me, it felt like, going back to it, well, I'm not even good enough just to have a regular conversation. I have to feel like you're pulling me apart.
Yeah.
But it's, and that kind of, well, this feels like I'm back in high school, where it's okay to pull me apart, but not put me back together. Just leave me like that, right?
Yeah.
And that's how, and then leave the emotions with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not flowing out like they should. They're not helping me bypass anything. So they just get, layered, right? Yeah. So when other people are dealing with this, maybe in a different way, is there a way for them to identify it while they're in it?
the best, easiest way is to feel that there's an activation, to know like, oh, wow, like, oh, I'm activated. That doesn't mean there's a problem. That means there's information trying to come through
Okay.
a channel that's not open yet, right? It's trying to like break through, right?
Right. So would that be the willingness to feel it, the willingness to feel it,
Yeah.
the will to feel it and allow it to flow? You know, am I saying that the right way? Would you say it a different way?
Yeah. So most of the problem that we have is that we're not willing to be with what's there.
Okay.
Right. And I don't mean it like it can be very nuanced. With myself, I have to like catch myself trying to work around something like, oh, I just don't want to feel that way.
Right.
I'm going to mindset shift. I'm going to use an affirmation. I'm going to use a tool. And it's like the first order of business is always, can I be with this right now? Can I be with this?
I'm going to see if me taking my I like to play with filters, and I'm just if the filter will you know, move things along.
Yeah.
So
let me also, I'm seeing like I have a power cord that's connected here, but it's not powering up my phone as we're talking. So I'm wondering if that might be part of the problem too.
yeah.
So I'm going to play with that a little bit. Is there anything that you want to say to the people that are watching?
Yeah, I want to just say that it's like this is part of what we're reading. I read every day at 3:30, and I read this book called The Power of Now.
Yes.
And basically it's about being in your we're talking about the egoic mind and how it flows, and sometimes it doesn't want to flow in your past, and it wants to flow in your past, wants to flow in your future, but in that now moment it doesn't work really well there, right? But the now moment is where we experience all of our emotions in that moment. So with me, it was like I've been telling them to when you have a moment where you're feeling kind of irritated or agitated or whatnot, which is all that I was when I was on that call, but I had let myself get in it before I would ask, am I aware of this? Am I aware? Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So the thing is, so I had let it grow to the point where I didn't even think about asking, am I aware? Because the moment that you're aware, then awareness is everywhere, and you're going to ask the question, how do I feel about this emotion that's rising up?
Yeah.
Do I want to allow it to rise up, or do I want to, what question do I want to ask of it in order to let it flow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes the only question you have to ask is to yourself, am I willing to be with this?
Right.
Am I willing
Right.
to be with this? That's it. Like before we have to do any kind of like assessment of it or why it's happening, just am I willing now? It's like if you had a kid who's telling you like, you know, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, and they're going to keep on doing that until you turn around and you say, okay, what is it that you need, you know? And then they tell you and you're like, okay, and then it's over.
Right. The same thing as riding on a long trip, and you tell your mom or dad, are we there yet? And your dad says no, and then 10 minutes later, are we there yet? Instead of like turning around and saying, okay, why are you asking, are we there yet? Do you have to go to the bathroom?
Mm-hmm.
To turn that, are you there yet, to kind of dismantle it, or
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And sometimes sometimes it is there for because it needs to know, like it needs to tell you, like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. And sometimes it's just, it just wants to pass through. And it's just like, if I'm willing to be with the sensation, sometimes it just goes by. What ends up happening is later, right, then we have an open channel that will, you know, ideas come in, inspiration comes in, whatever it is. Like sometimes it's even like a day, 3 days later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is basically what happened. It's been a couple of days since we had that conversation. And then this morning after my meditation, you know, I do a meditational bath and the whole kind of thing. Literally, I was in my vanity area, and that download, that information that source was feeding me was saying, well, this is gonna, now you're gonna, you know, I was like understanding. The source was like making me understand the whole scenario. And source says, well, you know, you had to go through this in order to have other people understand that they're not alone in their processes of emotion. You know, when people that move through our pages and they're looking for knowledge and information from us, and they some people who are good at giving wisdom and knowledge, yes, but they give it and they don't use themselves as, oh, I've been through this, oh, I've been through this, it's okay, I've been through it, it's okay for me to talk about it now. And yes, I'm human. Yes, I'm human. That was a very human moment for me, and actually kind of very humbling, because even this morning it was like, oh, I could have handled that much better, right? And
Yeah.
then, okay, so don't beat yourself up about it. You know how you're gonna, and source is saying you're gonna figure out how to work this through, you know. And source says you're not gonna have to walk it back because your friend already understood you. So I went, okay, well, if you say so. I still think I need to make an apology, but we'll work on that. I'm exactly going through that with my source. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, but it had to be, in that case, I had to be willing to be open to letting it flow however it flowed.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the information that you got from that exchange is very important information. It's actually hard to come by, right? Like if that's something that you don't know, it's gonna come up. It'll come up in windows, but when it comes up in a very powerful way, you have such a clear vision on it. You're like, oh, I see it, right? But we throw away that information that we're being given by being like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way, or I shouldn't react that way. And
Yeah.
the only thing we can do is, we're here to grow and learn. And if we can do better and we see that, great.
Right.
I don't care if my partner does it perfect. I care that he cares about growing with it. Like, oh, I got angry, I didn't handle it well, let me come back. Like, okay, I'm sorry I didn't handle it well. Next time we get angry, okay, trying a new way now. You know,
Right.
me too. Like, he values that too with me.
Right. Right.
We're just here to refine all the time.
Right. To refine, to the growth and expansion of living.
This is it.
The growth of living. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So let's see. You talk about a concept called fully met. Is
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
can you is it okay that you dive just a little bit into it? Is this a what am I'm trying to say? Is this like a course that you're giving?
It is kind of like the name of the coaching that I do, but in general, it's a concept that I want everybody to know about, whether people work with me or don't. Like, anyone who comes into my sphere, I want people to be able to know about this. I wanted to ask you, is my video and audio caught up?
it's caught up in sections.
Oh my God.
But it's actually kind of great. It's actually, if we were in a movie, you would be in you'd be 5D motion moving, kind of. It's kind of awesome. I That's me,
Okay.
I'm saving the footage anyway.
Okay.
It is because the information is getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So when we're having this conversation about talking about fully met, when we're having this conversation about what you experienced with your anger, right? And I'm saying the instruction is, can I be with this? Can I be with this? Can I be with this? This is about fully meeting yourself and fully meeting your emotions. So that's our goal. We want to fully meet everything that's arising. And it's not fully meeting it to fix it. Like in the same experience that you had with your siblings of like, if you told them an emotion, then they're going to sit you down and try to fix it or analyze you. That's not a good feeling.
No.
That's not it. Like all that you would want in those moments is for them to come and say, oh, you feel upset? Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yes.
Like it makes sense that you're upset. Like, okay, right? Coming to that, meeting you right where you're at, right? And that's the same thing that our emotions want. They don't want to be told that they're not okay. They don't want to be anything like that. They don't want to be fixed. They don't want to be changed. They don't want to be squashed. They don't want to be pushed down. Everything is about fully meeting it, and that is fully meeting ourselves, right? And sometimes it happens in terms of like our needs. Like I'm going to fully meet my own need of drinking enough water, right? Or getting meditation in, or for you doing your meditative bath. Like it's fully meeting those needs that we have for ourselves. And what ends up happening is when you start to fully meet yourself and your emotions, other people, you're building an energetic structure where other people start to meet you. So people start to show up differently. Yes, we're human beings. So
yeah. You see the lights going, or the little electrodes going off, where it's, yes, when you said other people meet you, it's like
hold on a second. There's literally there's someone at my door, which never happens.
Go answer if you need. It's fine.
I think okay.
Okay.
We're not going to worry about it for now.
Okay. We'll accommodate on this podcast. I have 2 dogs. I live in a fairly big and my dogs are door. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go away.
Go. Did they go away? Anyway, so we are not humans doing, we are humans being. I got that. Let's see, anybody else say anything? Free flow. Oh, free flow. Okay. I'm just reading your comments. And hello, Krot Yi. Is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, if you have a question, you can put it in my question box, but make sure you put in there, if you're asking me a question, put my name, Sandra or Sandy. And if you're asking Adrian a question, please make sure you put it in there so that I can read it off. I do not know what her time limit is, so if you do have a question, we're going to address them after we have the conversation before she leaves the live. Is that fine?
No, I think it was you're so sweet, Kizzy. It was not a package, but it was somebody, a solicitor. People come to your door and they're relentless. They're like, I'm trying to talk to you. You're like, I'm busy.
It's like I'm busy.
Yeah.
Energy has to move along. But at least your dogs were doing what they said, look, we're going to just keep talking at this person until either they go away or you get up and take care of the situation. My first that too as well. You know.
Yeah.
Uh
So you were saying like the part about people fully meeting you, and that really opened something up for you.
yeah, because it's about meeting, it's about the allowing, if they're allowing you to have that vibrational moment of just being you in that moment and saying, well, I understand how you feel about something, and that way it allows your feeling of it to move, the you know, because here I am, when we're having a conversation with somebody, and most of the times, a lot of times we want confirmation. We're looking for confirmation that it's okay for us to feel this way. But most of the time, uh, other people are on that other end of the conversation. They don't know that you're looking for confirmation from them. They know what they're going to say about their perception of what you're saying about a situation, a circumstance, or even about a feeling that you have. They're going to bring it to you via their perception. And sometimes their perception isn't confirming anything. It's denying something. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, and it's also something that's, you know, our we are not taught as human beings to learn, like to listen, not to listen to ourselves and not to listen to other people. Because what happens is, I don't know if you've ever done any kind of what is it, landmark education. They talk about this concept of always already listening. So when we're listening to someone, we're listening to if we think it's right or wrong, if we think it's true or not true, if it's agreeing with the thing that we're about to talk about. We're not listening as like true presence, right?
Right. Right.
So, and it's natural because our brains are actually, when we are taking in information, the way we actually integrate information is we connect it to something that we already know. And the information that's like readily available to us is our thoughts and opinions about something,
Right.
right? So we're listening with that kind of like mindset rather than being like, let me see what Sandra's experience is.
Right.
Like
Right.
fully, and without projecting our thing onto it.
Right.
There's something about having, sorry, go ahead.
No, when I was in the corporate world, and which I'm retired from now, they taught us. I went to a seminar about active listening, where when you're actively listening to someone, you can repeat back to them what they've said and go, "Is that so?" And that keeps you in the moment. And that just came up for me right this minute. Is it more like being an active listener?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Because then you've left behind whatever your opinion is, and you're trying to make sure that you meet what the person said.
Okay.
I heard you say that you had a training in your corporate career where you guys talked about active listening. Is that
Right.
correct? Yeah. Notice how I didn't add anything in there.
Right.
I just said it back. And there's something really satisfying about knowing that someone got it. Like I was heard. And it's the very same feeling that we have going back and forth when we're having a conversation like that. We have that very same feeling with our emotions.
Right.
We want to
So
create
you
that.
have to take, while you're sometimes, while, let's just say we're not the perfect, um we allow ourselves to get in that moment where it's growing, and we're in the moment, and then all of a sudden we feel it, right? And we want to take some action to it, to allow it to dissipate, or what now. Active listening to the other person that's speaking to us about what we're talking, what we're being uh being in that vibrational resonance with that anger. And let's just call it anger, because for me, I was angry because she wasn't listening to me, or at least I thought she wasn't listening to me, and she probably thought I wasn't listening to her. We weren't using active listening. But is there, in that moment, you know, is there a moment where you can start actively listening as part of the de-triggering, or the, right, the,
Yeah. The de-escalation.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's the, like, even if we look at the words that someone uses, like, I'm starting to feel activated right now. Like, okay, my heart is racing. It's like there's a communication that's going on from inside of us, and then there's a communication from the other person. If we start actively listening, we can start actively listening at any point in time, right? So you and I are having a conversation that's activating. I could say, oh, my heart's starting to race. That's actively listening to me, because my heart is starting to race, so I'm mirroring it back. Oh, my heart is starting to race. And then when you say, like, you say whatever you're saying, then I can start actively listening to you. Okay, I'm understanding that you're saying no, no, no. And you're like, yes, that's it. Because what happens when we start to get activated is, like I said, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. Our listening, we're not actually processing information properly. Like we're in the projection. We're like, this feels exactly like how it felt when my brothers did this, or this feels exactly how it felt when my sister would do this. We're not in the moment.
Okay. Okay.
So when we can come back and say, okay, let me try and hear this person right now, then you're going to get more accurate information, because the information you're actually getting is from a different time. Like the thoughts in your mind are coming from, I'm activated, this feels like this other memory, and they start pulling up the files. And they're like, you look like this person.
Right.
But then when we
Right.
listening, we realize, oh, they're not saying that at all.
Right. They're not saying that at all. They're all of a sudden, the egoic mind has taken you back to a different point in time, and kind of sneakily laid that on top of what's happening now.
And it feels so real. It's
It does.
convincing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And here's the thing, that the really cool thing about it is, like, I'm really glad that it's so convincing, because then we cannot mistake it. We cannot mistake, like, you don't have a question mark if you're activated and you feel a certain way, like, really strongly. There's no question mark. You can see the information very, very clearly. You could tell me today on our conversation, this is what they were trying to do. And there is no doubt about it. So that means the ego is actually, it's, first of all, it's trying to protect us, but second of all, it's feeding us the most accurate information possible. It's the stuff that was down, 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 and it's bringing it up to the surface, being like, can you see this?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Can you see this? Okay. See, it's happening again. Then the ego is saying, well, I like it. It's a label, but it's happening again.
Yeah.
Right. And it's if you don't do anything about it, it's gonna happen again. And your egoic mind is saying, oh, it works well for me because, hey, I get a label, and hey, you're actively being my personality for me. So until you figure out how to shift this, or how to address it, I'm going to still be here. The next time it happens, it's going to might be a little bit bigger, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And the funny part is, like, we're, like, busy trying to, like, shut it down, like, put that away, like, I'm gonna put that in the closet, and, like, everything's fine over here, but really, like, the spirit is having the biggest laugh, because it's like, we will not give up on you, we will not give up on you.
We will not give up on you, because we know you. If we know the spirit's just going, I'm having it's an experience. I'm moving in, through, and as you. And the experience that you have is the experience that you have. It might not be the experience that you want to have, but it's the experience that you're having. So if you want to change it, then listen to us. We're giving you all this information, right?
So much information. It is gold. Like, the fact that you had such a big activation, I'm just like, that is a blessing.
Oh, it's a blessing. But while I was going through it kind of almost hurt.
Oh yeah.
Not almost hurt. did hurt,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if I were the one who was designing how human life went, I don't know if I would keep some of the same designs. Like, think about, like, I think you have kids, so like bringing a baby into the world, like, how does that feel? Like, is that really the easiest design?
No. I did it 3 times, but I'm going to tell you, after the first time, the pain and the whole thing and the pushing and everything, when I went through it the first time, I said, I'm not doing that shit again, and then here you go, you have the second one, and of course they tell you, the doctor tells you, oh, your body's been through it already, it knows what to do and whatnot, which for a good part it does know what to do, right? It does know what to do, but it does, because I think because the doctor put that in the subconscious, then I'm going, oh, my body knows what to do. So the pain, it felt like the pain was less, but see, the pain was the same. It was just the doctor saying, oh, your body knows what to do. It's not going to be as bad. So it was that
perception.
Yeah, it was like brainwashing, right?
Yeah.
Right. So,
but also, like, I mean, if you think about it, that's also true. Like, if we successfully navigate an emotion, right? Like, let's say you successfully navigate anger, and then it comes up again, the brain and the body and the emotions know what to do. So even if the anger is still at 10, it actually, you experience it differently because you're regarding it differently. You're like, oh, I know what this is. I know what to do. It still might be unpleasant. The anger still might be at a 10, but your relationship with it is different. And that's the point. Human life, our emotions are not going anywhere. We are not being rescued by a ship coming down in the ascension journey. Like, none of that's happening. Like, the only thing that's changing is us and our relationship to exactly this experience. Right. That's how we become high vibrational. We're not becoming high vibrational by doing affirmations, by clearing our house with sage, by using crystals. It's none of that. It's can I have a relationship with it that's very high level, regardless if it's anger, regardless if it's a divorce, regardless of if it's a parenting issue, regardless if it's a friend, a fight, no matter what it is, can I have a high level relationship with it as it's happening? That's my practice. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Because when you're saying that, when I had my last kid, everybody in the room is going to laugh. Literally. I was in labor, made it to the hospital, and I was asking the doctor, why is it taking so long? And he literally leaned over to me, right? He goes, you do know that you have to push, right? Right. And I'm going, but the pain, it wasn't bad pain or anything. It was like, okay, I know, the body already been through it, so I know what stages I was in, and I'm going, well, he should be out already. Why is this taking so long? And he literally just leaned over me. He said, Miss, and that my married name was a different name. And he says, Miss So-and-so, you do know you have to push. And I went, in my mind, I'm going, oh, that's what I overlooked, right? and 2 or 3 pushes, and he's out, right? But it was like that, when you're saying that relationship with pain, that part of pain that I've done before, 2 times before, was like, oh, it's kind of like, oh, it should already be done. I do my deep breathing. I know what cycle it's, what the next stage is. And my relationship to the pain was, kind of like, oh, I'm understanding it. Kind of like I'm allowing it.
Yeah.
To the point where I forgot, you need to help out.
Yeah.
Right.
You were in such a zen place with the pain that you were like, I'm good.
I'm good, right? That kind of thing. It's like, oh, well, I guess if I have to push, okay, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, now I understand it, because the first time I wasn't married or allowing the pain. I was in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, but the second time I was told that your body's going to know what to do. So I was allowing of the pain because my body knew what to do in it. And the third time I was just that there was that Zen moment, like, okay, I got this, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't say it's being married to the pain, but it's allowing it to just flow and move.
Yeah.
Right.
You also at that point understood what it meant. You understood that you weren't dying, that it would be over at a certain point, like it's like when you're trying to learn something new, right? Like I'm learning how to dance salsa and bachata with my partner, and I look back at the videos from classes a year ago, and when I was in those classes, I was so humbled. It was so hard. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is not graceful. It was very overwhelming. And I look back at like the first classes, like what did we actually learn in that class? And it was like nothing. And we learned so much in one class now. But and it's way less overwhelming, but it's because I have a different relationship with it. I understand a little bit more. I have more context. My body knows what to do, so I can do more complicated things.
Right.
It's the same thing that we are with emotion. Anger is never going to stop. I hope it never does, because that means we're over. Love's never going to stop. Sadness is never going to stop. Jealousy is never going to stop. All those things, but we have more dexterity, more flexibility, a more powerful relationship with it. So we're not trying to stop it all the time, and we're not being like, our circuits aren't being blown by it.
Right.
It happens once in a while when we're on a growth edge, right? So the one that happened for you was a growth edge. You're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there.
Right. Seriously, I didn't. I mean, I think taking that into account, I think that was through maybe somewhere between 10 and 16 where I felt most of that. And, I was, like I said, there was my mom there to help ask those questions that guided me along that emotional kind of thing. But evidently not as much as it should, because it was still, it still became, after her passing, it became more of me going, okay, I don't know how to handle this because I don't remember the questions, or my egoic mind saying, you don't need to remember the questions that your mother asked. I got it for you. And then there were no questions.
Right.
So it layered in. Right.
Right. And there's also the piece of like, maybe there's like, your mom did such a beautiful job of being there and being a steward of your emotions and helping you with it, asking the questions, but maybe what you're approaching now is just another level of that. It doesn't mean that wasn't helpful or you need her in order to do it. It's just now you're approaching different information, right? Like no matter what, the things that we experienced as a child, like we came as souls with a contract to experience those things, no matter how well it was managed, it's still imprinting us, right? For our expansion, not because we deserve hard things, but because it's setting us up for expansion.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I think that it was setting me up for expansion, but it was also setting me up for this podcast so that people could actually have something, because I could go back in my past, or have a story that is past, right? And I tell it from my perspective, but there's my perspective is maybe, okay, back then it was a little bit more, and now in the perspective now of all the things that I know spiritually, it's going to be kind of lightweight. Whereas this happened, it's recent past, and it's like, ooh, I was in that.
Yeah.
And it, you know what I mean? And I can give it to or allow people to feel it, in that and that yeah, I'm laughing about it, but man, when I was feeling it, I was feeling it.
100%. 100%. And I think it's so helpful for other people to hear what you experienced, because it's so relatable. there's not one person that's going to witness this video or podcast that's going to be like, oh, nope, never happened to me.
Right. Nope, it's never happened. You know, they go, oh yeah, it happened to me, but I will never be as bold as her to put it out there. But I'm saying that sometimes you don't have to put it out there. Other people are going to, if we're servicing, if we're called to serve, and source allows you to share, then it's like, it's so that you, the people that are going to be listening to this message are going to grow from it. So for me, it's like, oh, let me just tell the story, because it's you know, it's still fresh in my mind, and it's still something that, yes, I still do have to meditate about it. Yes, I know where all this comes from, but it's putting it in a place, and for me, surrendering.
Yes.
It's like, you know, I still have to do that shadow work of surrendering it.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, not just for you, but for everybody who is listening, who's certainly experienced these things. We think, oh, we had that experience, and like, oh, like things shit came to light, like, okay. And then we think, okay, so now that I know about this, next time I'm going to do it better or perfect or right. And what I want to say about it is that's not necessarily the case, because, and it might be, but let's not be hard on ourselves if it isn't perfection the next time, because if it isn't, that means there's more information to come through.
Right.
That means there's more power that we have, we stand to have in relationship to that thing. So it's okay. Like, the only thing that matters is that we're here for it. Like, I'm here to allow it. I'm not here to fix it. I'm here to receive all of the blessings that it has to give us. And that's not like carte blanche to just like blow up at people. It just means I'm not going to try and constrict around it. Like, this better not happen again, because when we do that, then it explodes more.
Right. Right. It becomes the Mount Vesuvius. I'm going to tell you that it was the Mount Vesuvius, but it didn't like I said, it didn't have the pyroclastic cloud where it just blew everything just off the scales. It was just kind of like the mountain lava came out. I was oozing pain, right? And before anything could be said that would be detrimental to our friendship, it was like, okay, well, with her, she said, you know, I'm getting triggered. Can we change the subject? And my inward dialogue was different than the outward dialogue. Yeah. The outward dialogue was, yes, let's change the subject. The inward dialogue was, oh, now she's better, you know, she's more important than me.
Yeah.
Her is more important than mine. But yeah, it was inward.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, it took all of me not to say what was there, because the egoic mind wants you to say something like that to protect yourself, because it's trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And it took all, but it was like, oh, I want to blow up. Where's the air cloud, you know, plastic cloud? What's going to knock everything down and take this pain away? Because,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that piece too is that's the piece of the mind that's like, I can't handle this pain. I need it to go away now. And there's a lot of conditioning around that. Like, we want to stop what's uncomfortable. Stop. And it's like, we're foreclosing on the fortune that's available when we're wanting to stop it. And we actually perpetuate it by wanting to stop it. It's just, oh, I'm feeling this. Like, I'm feeling this, and what do I need right now? And it was wise of you not to say the things, right? Like, that was information for you, not for her.
Right. Right. It definitely was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't information about her. It was information about several situations in all of my growing up that has to be addressed by me, you know, in my meditation, in my intention to allow it to flow out and surrender it.
Yeah.
You know, I get it now,
Yeah.
which I got this morning. So believe me, people, meditational baths, meditation, anytime I can get it. Yes, because it does have to be surrendered. It's just what life does to you, or not to you. Life is doing exactly what you're giving it information to do.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But in the uploads from source is giving you information about how to change based on the fact that the universe, the only constant in the universe is change, and that's okay. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's time to change. It's time for this particular story to either, number one, come to an end and be surrendered, or number two, come to an end and be surrendered.
And I would say, like my version of what you're saying would be, this is something, the changes, I get to expand through it rather than it being the stopping point. It's the starting point.
Even better.
Because
yeah,
it's not trash. It's like, and just as Deepa is saying here, we're here for the experience, to learn the lessons. We signed up for this. Exactly. We not desperately, we really wanted to be here for this. So
I'm sorry, my scroll was, for some reason, it wasn't moving. I don't know why. Because otherwise I would have seen Deepa say, we're always judging. And that's what our mind does. Our mind, it judges every situation and every circumstance that we're active in, and it gives us more judgment. Oh, she left us. She'll be back. Anyway, so if you guys have, hold on a second. I think she's coming back. Coming back. She's quick. He's back.
Hello. My phone is doing.
I told him, I said, just wait. She's coming back. Quick. But yeah, judging and projecting. Actually, that's what we do. Instead of judging, we should be there's source gave me the word this morning, and you know what, I was not diligent to writing it down, but there is a point where instead of judging ourselves or judging situations or circumstances, we get to look and we get to tap into it, and we get to go, oh, what can I get from this? Right? We get to get, who am I going to be in this? Or who am I going to be to serve, whether it's serving family or serving, being a good co-worker or whatnot. Instead of judging it, we're kind of like saying, oh, I see that. Oh, I see this, in the moments before you have the blow up, right?
Yeah.
If I actually listened to her and what she was saying, I could have did what she did, which was going, oh, I'm feeling a little like maybe we need to change the subject before I got to the Mount Vesuvius.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing for next time. But even the fact that it did go to Mount Vesuvius, you got so much gold. Oh, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with it. Huh?
I said there's gold in them emotions, right?
Amazing gold.
Yes.
So I do have to sign off, but I wanted to say one thing first.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so funny is I did the audio and video sync up again now that I'm back.
Yes.
I think that's what we have to do, is that you, like, once it starts to get out of sync, it's like go off and then come back on. I think that's the trick. Yeah. So what I want to say is, like, it's such a beautiful thing. Like, no matter, let's say that nothing else happens as a result of this conversation with your friend besides this conversation today. I want you to see this, and for everyone else watching as well. You expressed how you felt. Like, you came on this live and you decided that you were going to be vulnerable and authentic, which is so helpful to everybody. But then you said this experience to me, who is someone who is like, you know, in a similar role. You know, I'm someone who knows about emotions, and I used to be a therapist. And you decided to share your feelings, even though you're.
I didn't hear you. Are you on mute?
No, a phone call came in.
Oh,
am I there?
okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So even though you had those experiences before, you chose to have this experience and conversation with me. And that by itself, because you could have had the fear of like being analyzed and put on the couch and your feelings didn't matter, or being misunderstood, right? And even in front of people, you still chose to have this conversation. A part of you knew that there was something available for you as a result. Like, that is so incredible.
Oh, thank you. I'm even inside my ego mind is saying, what were you thinking? I was thinking that I want to have, I was thinking, this is, I'm thinking, through my vulnerability, I can serve. And that conversation that I was privy to with Source this morning that said, expand, no, hold on. That said, allow the expansion to happen, right? That a source speaks to me in the mornings. It speaks to me in light language. So
beautiful.
And my soul, right? And my soul just said, go with the flow. And that's what I did. But source is just saying the flow was the expanding and allowing to see, to allow people to know that, yes, it hurts. And oh man, did it hurt. That was a powerful pain. That was pain body. And if we keep that pain body, if we allow that pain body to grow without having a way to flow, then pain body needs to be fed. So it's just going to come back for more, right? So for me, it was like, oh no, we got to figure this out. This morning, it was like, you mean this can come back? You mean this can, kind of thing. What the, that kind of, no way, so vulnerable. If I have to be vulnerable, then it's what I'm going to be, because it's what I'm called to do. And Soul Conversations with Sandra was called to have these conversations so that people get to hear a little bit of what you do that aren't on, my people aren't on your page, and your people aren't on my page. And it's like, they gotta hear it. They gotta, even if there's not a ton of people that are moving through this space right now, they're gonna hear it when it becomes video form. It's gonna be out there and it's gonna be available. So I thank you very much for being my guest. I know that there's gonna be a third one.
Yeah.
There really is. So probably sometime in March.
Yeah.
I am going to go, we need to do a third installment. And I hope you will come back and join us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. I love having these conversations with you.
Yeah. There's more about this crystalline emotion, this 5D. I always knew, but it was the 5D emotion was dealing with body, mind, your five senses a lot differently than we do in 3D,
Yeah.
in third density. That there had to be, it's kind of, I think most people have said, or they think that we're supposed to get these light bodies because the earth realm is has moved from the third dimension to fourth dimension. And then us being in fourth dimension, we're supposed to, be transforming into light body. But I think it's into a higher consciousness, and it's dealing with our feelings and our you know, how we hear and see and address our feelings and our emotions along with our thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
it's so deep.
So
So
deep.
I hope you come back, and I thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a beautiful day.
Okay, thank everybody.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, bye-bye. All right, I thank you very much for stopping in and having this conversation with us, listening and having a conversation via the comments. Thank you so much. And we will be back. I have a surprise. Since January is closing, I will be doing a soul conversations with Sandra on Tuesday, the 31st at 11:30. And I have a surprise guest for you. Don't worry, the flyers will go out. You'll know who it is soon. Be blessed, be loved, be loving, and enjoy your creative day.